G'day guys, Tools20 here, and welcome to a Q&A special of Springwood. Big thanks to everyone who has been contributing questions for the last couple of weeks. We look forward to answering your questions in just a little bit of time. Just want to say big thanks to Josh from the Discord server for organizing this Q&A. I probably wouldn't have done it without his motivation, so massive thanks to Josh and all the curators on the Discord server. While I'm answering your questions, you're going to be watching as I redevelop episodes 1, 2, 3, and 4. This is something I've been wanting to do for a really long time. Fix up these areas that are totally outdated now. It's been what, a year and a half that I've been developing Springwood, so a lot of these areas needed some redevelopment. So you're going to be watching some footage from that. Also, at the very end of the episode, you're going to see the biggest cinematic overview of Springwood I've shown yet. This has been something requested a lot, and here it is, basically. So stick around to the very end. I look forward for you to see the greater picture of Springwood and it all coming together as we've been building over the last few years. In terms of the Q&A, I had so many questions. A lot of questions people are asking were, basically asked by a lot of other people. So I'm going to be, talking about the most frequent questions as well as answering lots of individual questions. Some questions that you can expect answers from are PC specs, intro song, plans for the next series, and general, I had a real bunch of different questions, not just about Springwood, but about just my channel in general. I'm going to start off though by answering one question that came up quite a lot, and that was, why is my name Tools20? Well, to be honest, that is a very uninteresting answer to this question because it's really just, I just made it up. I think I was playing CSGO or something like that, and I had to come up with a name really quickly, and I don't know, it just came to my head. I'm really glad that I chose it though, because it's one of those names that, I don't know, I don't think I'm gonna get sick of. It's not offensive, it's not dumb. I actually kind of like it. So, it's one of the few names that I've ever made for myself that I actually like, and maybe even the first one. Second question I'm going to answer comes from Bisqueaklehausen, and he asks, the 1980s throwback era of Springwood is one of the coolest things about it. Will you ever do any other eras in your cities? And he also asks if it's difficult to manage, and the answer is, yeah, I mean, it is quite difficult because there aren't that many 80s styled assets on the workshop. I can get away with a lot of buildings. However, there are a lot of 80s buildings that I would really love from the workshop, and a lot of people have been contributing quite a lot. Archie Cunningham, who is an asset creator who designs a lot of cars, his vehicles actually inspired the series in the first place. I saw a lot of his cars on the workshop that were 80s styled, and they inspired the series, to be honest. And unfortunately, he doesn't play the game anymore and isn't really creating any more assets, which is such a shame. But, with Bisqueaklehausen actually creating those 80s style planes and all the other bits and pieces he's been creating, it makes it possible to make this series possible. I would love to make another style, another era styled city. That is definitely the plan down the tracks, but we'll get into future plans just a little while later. In terms of the next question, the question comes from Josh A1, who is the moderator on the Discord channel, and he asks, will you ever expand into other games? If so, which ones? I do play quite a lot of other games. I play PUBG like every now and again. That is probably my only other game that I would play. I probably wouldn't release any of the footage on the channel because it's not really related to what I want the channel to be about. Plus, I'm really bad at it, so unless you want to watch, an absolute noob playing, you don't want to see any footage from that. I also bought Planet Coaster when it was first released. I played quite a lot of it. Was expecting to release a series. However, it was about the same time my channel started taking off, and it takes a while to release these episodes, so I didn't really get enough time to sink my teeth into it. I would have really loved to release some stuff from Planet Coaster. I'm not going to totally say I'm not going to play it. It's a game that I've been waiting for such a long time, and it feels kind of crazy that I haven't released anything from it yet. I mean, you might be able to stay tuned for some sort of Planet Coaster series later down the track. I definitely watch a lot of channels that are based on Planet Coaster, so you know, if you're keen for something like that, definitely let me know in the comments, because I would be more inclined if I know that other people are kind of you know, wanted to see something like that. Next question comes from Lucas is Good, and he asks, are there any other US cities that inspire you? I'm really inspired by Detroit, and I would love to start a series based in Detroit, but I just haven't yet. Again, Springwood, all my other series take so much time and effort that I probably I can't justify starting another series right now, but I do take a lot of inspiration from Detroit just anyway, mostly around the suburbs, and the general history of that place is just, I think, really amazing. That's one city that I will float around on Google Earth quite a lot on, and you know, I find it just a really fascinating place. Next question comes from Win, and he asks, how long does it take to produce an episode of Springwood / Asara? Springwood is by far the longest taking series to produce. Each episode, it really does take a whole week to get one out. The amount of work that goes into each episode, I cut out so much of the build in the edits, so that you don't have to see all the everything that I plop down, because it's not that interesting, you know, all the other detailing work I do. Also, I spend a lot of time editing my footage, which takes ages to do. I want to try and include those Google images as well, making the references, and that takes a little bit of time to get my head around. I am slowly getting faster at it, but it takes hours and hours and hours, and I basically get home from work and I just jump straight onto it, and we'll produce, you know, we'll be working on episodes all throughout the night as well. The next question comes from French Hornboy, and he asks, where would I work in Springwood, and where would I live as well, and why would I choose those two places? If I was to live in Springwood, it would definitely be in the downtown, and it would be at some sort of architectural firm, you know, being the mayor of Springwood, I guess, or the designer at least. I would love to work in one of the larger buildings that I haven't really given any purpose to yet. And if I was to live around here, I think it's pretty obvious that I would love to live in one of those mansions that are built in those episodes. I think it might have been even episode 12 of, I don't know. I don't know why I'm guessing the number of episode. I can't remember, but I live in one of those mansions up at Springwood Hills. Those mansions are so damn cool. And even one of my least viewed episodes, I don't know why, I think that was one of my best episodes. Just goes that way sometimes. A question from lots and lots of people have been based around, what am I going to do in terms of sports fields, golf courses, NASCAR? Lots of questions about NASCAR. I guess NASCAR is something really big in the US. It's not that big. Well, actually, it is actually kind of big in Australia, but we don't really have NASCAR. We have some other sort of it. I'm definitely not a fan of it. As you can tell, I don't really know anything about it. I would actually build something like that. There are quite a lot of NASCAR assets on the workshop already, which would be very handy. I will probably build some sorts of sporting areas. Golf courses are due for when I build the kind of like Malibu side of Springwood. Also, like, a lot of the sports fields will kind of exist on the outskirts of Springwood, so I am creeping in that direction, so you can expect that in the near future. NASCAR, I will be getting into that as well, but I don't know, I didn't know anything about it. That's going to be another learning curve, and I think that'll be a real tricky build for me, since I don't really know how they operate. But with all those assets already on the workshop, that shouldn't be too far away in the near future. It's amazing how many people have been asking about it. The Backyard asked, what is my favorite thing about Europe? And have I ever thought about making a European city, which is asked by Titan. So the closest place I've been to Europe is Russia, like around Moscow and St. Petersburg. I love that area of it. I think I love the whole Soviet Union side of Europe, and that is probably why I chose Russia in the first place. I'd choose to go to a lot of other countries around the Eastern Europe side of things. Never been to France or Germany or anywhere like that. I do plan to though, down the track. In terms of building a European city, that is definitely not on the cards. I'm just not inspired by in European cities. That doesn't mean I don't love them. Like, I do love European cities, but in terms of inspiration, US cities they really do it for me. Like, even Australian cities don't interest me that much. Australian countryside interests me a lot, but in terms of cities, it's all about the US cities for me. Only One Dan asks, what has been the most fun to build, Broken Hill or Springwood? Really tricky question. At the moment, I love building my Australian series just because I love incorporating that drone footage. That is a really exciting thing for me, and it feels like it opens up a lot of possibilities. However, Springwood is something that I've been working on for such a long time, and I am not sick of it yet. I want to build on it all the time, so really tricky question. I don't know if I can give any answers. At the moment, it's probably my Australian series. However, Springwood is something that I'm always excited to jump back in and start developing. He also asks, how do I feel about the recent growth on my channel? Because I gained a lot of subscribers over the summer break for us. That was because I released a lot of airport-based content. So I really monopolized on that, just keeping their airport flow going quite a lot throughout that period. It's great. I bloody love it. This is something that I've been wanting to do for a really long time. Start up a series and start a YouTube channel. So I seriously love the growth. I'm constantly trying to find other ways of keeping that growth coming along. Next question comes from H2O, and they ask, if you could build a city anywhere in a fictional universe, where would it be? That's Springwood. Because, if you've ever noticed, Springwood is a complete clash of different cultures and different cities. This then also goes into the question that Brickatech asked, and he asked about Springwood, because I did start by basing this off LA. Well, to be honest, I actually started Springwood basing it off New York. I realized pretty quickly that it's going to be really hard to do a New York-styled city because it is just ginormous. It is so huge, and there is so much. It's a really old city, whereas LA seems a lot more modern. You got way more sprawling suburbs. Correct me if I'm wrong, but in terms of what I can actually accomplish, LA seems to be a lot easier to base off. I love incorporating all those different styles. I get a bit of Sydney into it, and I get some New York and LA, and it's not restricted to those three cities. And I really like it. I like that Springwood now exists within its own universe. It's not so much an American city, but it's just a city. And, I guess if I could change the left-hand traffic, I would. Some people have been mentioning that I can possibly. I haven't looked into it just yet, but sounds like it could be a possibility down the track. So I am trying to get this as mostly American as possible, with the exception of a couple of different things. The next question comes from Andrew GM, and he asks, do I have a plan on making a military base? And that flows in really nicely with the question by that epic gamer who asked, will I ever develop the countryside of Springwood? To answer both of these questions, yes and yes. Springwood is not limited to just the city. It has always been the plan to develop the countryside as well. So many good ideas coming from everyone about the countryside. Lots of vineyards and small towns and getting into the desert and oil fields, and there's so much I want to develop. In terms of a military base, that is definitely something on the cards. There are a lot of other people who have made some really nice looking military bases. Skibbeth and Bawamba being two people who have made incredible military bases. So, I like to do something kind of different to what they did. I don't know. I am thinking about it. It is definitely something that I want to do. Springwood is Not limited to the city though. I can't wait to get into the countryside of things. The next question comes from so many people. This is a question that gets asked in every video that I ever release. And I'm really sorry for never discussing this, and I'm sorry for never addressing it. That is pure laziness. I just shoot for releasing videos, and I avoid this question all the time. That is, what are my PC specs? I've listed that in the description below. Check them out. I mean, my PC is good, but it's not too flash. And I mean, if you are after graphics and a game that runs like mine, go for LUTs, look at mods, look at map themes. That is what makes your game look really good. Not so much my PC. It is always changing. I'm always adding things to it. But in terms of how good it is, it's just a PC. It's not too crazy. It's not too flash. The next question comes from Bisquigglehausen, and he asks which one of my series is going to end first. It's going to be Broken Hill. Is it going to be Springwood? The answer is neither. I plan to, well, I guess they're going to end eventually. But like Springwood, I don't plan to finish anything anytime soon. They're going to last forever and ever and ever, or until people stop watching. That is probably the main thing. They'll just stop when you stop watching. To be honest about Broken Hill though, I mean, it is only just a small town, whereas Springwood is a big city. And so, I mean, technically that could finish first, but I do plan to do a lot of work in Broken Hill, in the countryside, in the whole series in terms of terraforming and work on small little projects within it. I'll just always revisit my projects, I think, until they are just as finished as I think they could possibly be. But I don't see them finishing, not anytime soon. And that also leads me to another question that people ask a lot about my series, and that is, will I ever release the save game of Springwood? The answer is no. The reason why is because the game relies so much on mods and assets and settings and all sorts of things. It's not worth it. I mean, what you see right now is a sped up build that I am doing. Traffic does not move as smoothly as this on my actual game. It is quite slow. It's fine. Like, I like it still. It's not like it's an absolute awful experience. In terms of like how fast it runs, it's fine for me. But if you were to download it, I don't think you're going to get much out of it. Plus, that kind of, it kind of loses the magic to it. And it's really important for me to, build the atmosphere in this city, and a lot of that atmosphere comes from the edits, it comes from the cinematics, it comes from what I want to show you. And if you were to just float around the city, you'd sort of see the behind the scenes, behind the curtains stuff, and you don't want to see that. You just want to keep the magic going. So I don't ever want to release the save game. I never will release it. Just live through the videos. In terms of Broken Hill and any other series, that is definitely a possibility, because they are going to be much smaller maps and much smaller themes and stuff like that. So it doesn't really, it's not as big as Springwood. I think Springwood will just destroy your computer, to be honest. Next question comes from, Blujitsu, and they ask, what's my favorite thing about living in Australia, or the favorite part about living in Australia? I think the best part about it is the food. The food is pretty incredible over here. We have excellent quality of food, coffee, and fruit and veg, and just everything in general in terms of food. And also the wildlife over here is just pretty amazing. You don't have to get very far out of the city before you start seeing kangaroos or, seeing a koala or something like that. Even these really extremely elusive animals are still, you see them all the time. Whereas I've been trekking in the Amazon and seen like 2 snakes. I can see 2 snakes just by walking out the backyard. So it's really amazing the wildlife you can see out here. The cities and stuff, they're great to live in, and the beaches are fantastic, but I think food and wildlife, they really take the cake for living in Australia. Next question comes from pretty much everyone. I get this question all the time, and that is, what is the theme to Springwood? What is the song, the intro? What is that song? People love that song. It's not a song, it's a jingle. I bought it from a website. It cost me $30. I bought it so that I have the rights to use it for as many series as I want. It's not a song. I can't give it to you. It's nothing. It's just a jingle. It took me ages to find that jingle. It is hard finding 80s style music for Springwood. I mean, I don't want any other music. I started this series with I think it was like orchestra music and just random trance music, and I mean, all part of developing Springwood is developing the feel of it and the sense that you are in an 80s styled city, and it was really essential to get the music up and running as well. So the music that you hear in this is if it's in a time lapse, go and check that out. It's all in the link in the description below. And in terms of the intro, it's not a song, it's just a little jingle. Next question comes from F35H, and he asks, I use a drone a lot, and will this be used after the Australian city? I love using this drone so much. I love the fact that it opens up so many possibilities for my channel. I plan to do so much with it, even outside of outside of my Australian series. I actually plan to do an episode of Springwood based off some drone footage. Even though it's based in Australia, it fits in really nicely with what I want to build in Springwood for the next episode. So expect it for the next part of Springwood. I will have some drone footage, and I'll be using lots more because I do want to incorporate it as much as possible. It means that I can talk about what inspires me on the spot and give some commentary about why cities are awesome, because I am standing in a cool place. You know what I mean? So yeah, I love flying it so much. Juicy Jeff, that's such a good name. If I could create any style of city, town, etc. with perfect accuracy, what would it be? That would be Springwood. I'd love just to build this better. I love building Springwood. I feel like I always miss the mark. I mean, I know I get such nice feedback from you guys, but like any creator, I always finish my builds and think, damn, I wish I'd changed this. I wish I'd built this better. And I blame that on not living in LA or New York. So it's really hard to get the feel for a place. And that's why I'm really excited about my new series based in Australia, because I actually live there and I am inspired by Australian things all the time. Next question comes from Diamond Vortex, and how hard is it to build a city like Springwood? Really bloody hard, because I don't live there, and it's massive, and there's lots of assets and mods and all sorts of things that have to balance within this game, and it takes hours and hours and hours and hours to release an episode. There's a certain quality I want from each video, and that is tricky to get. It's really, really tricky. Next question is from lots of other people. That's my note down here to myself, and it is, do I have any other hobbies besides creating videos and playing this game? Yeah, I've got tons. I do drawing. I'm a freelance drawer, artist, I guess, and I love going to the beach, and I love outdoors, and I like droning, and I like lots and lots of other things. The only problem is I never have enough time within my day to achieve all these things. I wish there was an easy way of fitting in more things into your life. That is the biggest problem right now for me. Next and lucky last question. I think this is a really good one to finish off, and that is by Trader Chest, and they ask, what other projects should we expect in the future from me? To be honest, there are so many projects that I am working on at the moment. It's crazy. I have a lot of collabs in the future. I have videos that have not been released yet, but are sitting privately on my channel. There is a lot to you can expect from. Lots of drone stuff, lots of build based off drones, some vlogging elements as well. There is going to be a studio tour in the near future, very near future, I should say. I started planning a new series a couple of months ago, but then abandoned it, and I am planning on starting that up again pretty soon. Just because it is a really great idea, I think, and I'm really excited to start this up. It's going to be a lot easier to manage, so don't worry about other series dropping off. It's just a series that I think would be quite cool, and it's quite inspiring for me. And yeah, I mean, that is pretty much it in terms of what I have in the future. Like, lots. I mean, this channel, and it's probably a good way to end the video. This channel has been something I've been wanting to do for such a long time. It's not just City Skylines based, but this is a really great way for me to, express my creativity within these games. I used to play a lot of other games based around simulation and creativity. I used to play so much of Little Big Planet on PS a long time ago, and I sort of stopped playing that because I was putting in a lot of work into these maps, into these builds, and sharing with people, and they loved it, and it was lots and lots of fun, and we was building a community. However, it just existed within this one game, whereas this channel exists on the internet, and it exists on everyone's radar. I see YouTube as a massively expanding thing, and I'm really excited to be part of it now. So, this channel is something that is going to progress more and more and more, and I plan to always work on it, plan for it to be something that I will pursue for a really long time, and it's not just going to exist within City Skylines, I guess is what I'm saying. So expect lots, and I do really love all your feedback, and I love all your support, and just want to thank you guys so much for everything over the last year. It has been the funnest year, and I've enjoyed it so much. So massive thanks to you guys. That is it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. I really enjoyed putting it together, and sorry if your question was not answered. I tried so hard to squeeze them all in, but as you can tell, we are out of time. Thanks again, guys. I hope you have a fantastic week, and I look forward to seeing you in the next episode. See you later.